And there was this one gentleman, he came down to the shop. He said, what can I get? What would you recommend? And I said, I think you should try the lasagna. And he said, oh my God. He says, seriously, that was the best lasagna I've ever had in my life. And I said, oh, I'm so glad. He got another lasagna that day. And then he was hauling ass down the street one day, burst in the door, and he said, you didn't tell me your place was vegan? You lied to me. I said, what are you talking about? I said, we've never discussed that. I said, you asked me what was good, and I said the lasagna.
As soon as they see or hear the word vegan, they're like, I don't want it. That's disgusting. Like, you could offer somebody a peanut butter jelly sandwich, something they've eaten their entire lives, and then you tell them it's vegan, and they're like, that tastes so weird. I can't. And it's like, you've been eating the same sandwich forever.
Yeah.
Stop it. What the hell is up, you guys? My name is Jamie Logan, and today I am here with a new friend of mine. She is the founder of Electric Beets, which is an amazing cafe restaurant in Brooklyn. Cecily Tinder, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Jamie. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had such a great experience at your spot, and it was so random. I was leaving the hair salon, and my friend from high school, Sylvia, shout out to Sylvia, hello, and she texted me. She's like, I got this spot in my neighborhood that is super healthy and delicious and really good prices. You should come by. I want to introduce you to the founder. And I was like, wait, I'm like 10 minutes away. I'm never in this area. But so then I swung by.
It was great. It was serendipity for sure. I'm so glad you were able to come. I was really surprised too when you said you were 10 minutes away. I'm like, okay, this is happening.
This is how I roll. If I don't get it done now, it won't get done.
Yeah.
You know?
That's great. I'm glad you could stop by. Yeah. That was great. It was perfect timing.
It was so wonderful. So tell me a little bit about how you even got involved in a plant-based lifestyle.
Yeah. Well, I tell everybody who comes into my shop that my family has a real shit health history. And my dad actually passed away 2 months before I opened the shop. And I know he would have been really, really excited to see it opened. I know you can relate to this. It was a lot of time spent talking about plant-based eating. But my dad was the one that actually inspired me to change the way that I ate. And so he had the last 15 years of his life were spent in a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. He had anything that you can imagine, he had it. Type 2 diabetes, type 3 diabetes, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, heart disease. He had multiple strokes. He had cancer. Just took 2 handfuls of pills a day. It was really, really awful. And towards the end, it was literally 15 years of suffering. And towards the end, it was one of those things where you're almost just hoping that someone will pass away. That's the worst thing in the world to say or to feel. But it was just a really difficult thing. And I watched him and I said, I do not want that for myself. And I knew that I needed to change the way that I ate. And so it was about 10 years ago that I decided that I needed to make a change. And I'm one of those people that can do something, I decide that I'm going to do it. So I actually was working with a trainer at the time, and he said, hey, have you ever tried a plant-based diet before? And I said, I haven't. What I knew about it, but I hadn't really. And he said, just try it for 30 days. He says, anybody can do anything for 30 days. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So I was all in. It wasn't even a week when I huge jump in energy, huge change in digestion. Everything just worked. It was beautiful. And I knew after 1 week, it was really, really amazing, that this is the way that I was going to eat for the rest of my life. And it just happened to align with all of my belief system, generally speaking anyway. Very interested in animal welfare, very interested in sustainability, very interested in health in general. And so it was kind of crazy because I can't believe it took me that long in my life to come to a point where I understood this was a really, it was an amazing way of being and taking care of myself and taking care of so many things around me as well. And so that was so I dug in. I started researching, cooking constantly because I wanted to figure out a way to eat that was enjoyable. I love to eat. And so I wanted to be making food for myself that wasn't just grain bowls, just salads, just the very, very simple things that I think all people associate vegan eating with. And I started off that way. I did. I came up with every single sauce that you could put on top of a grain bowl. I worked and worked to try to make it creative. And then I thought, no, this can't be the end. And so I started making things like lasagna. I started making my own yogurt. I started making absolutely everything under the sun, all the different cheeses that you could make that were vegan cheeses that were absolutely phenomenal. And so I just kept working at it. And I thought, I can't be the only person that wants to eat this way. And so I had been wanting to go back to having my own business for quite some time. And so I started just thinking about all the different ways that I could do it. And then the idea of a healthy plant-based deli-like spot that was a grab and go came up because I thought New York needs convenience. New York needs healthy because there is really not a lot of healthy food, unfortunately, that is plant-based around it. There are a lot of things that are very convenient and very comforting, but at the same time, you can't eat those foods every single day.
This is funny how your journey started, because mine was the complete opposite, where I just, was looking at what was happening to animals, and I was like, all right, I'll figure out what else to eat. And I think I was like putting spaghetti on white bread and peanut butter on weird. I was just like, whatever, I'll eat whatever it is as long as it's not an animal. And a lot of people will just eat Oreos or potato chips all day, call themselves vegan, and then when they don't feel good a few years down the road, they blame veganism and a plant-based diet. So you truly are glowing, like from the inside out.
Thank you.
You have this glow to you. Did you have resources that you were looking at, like books or videos, when you were learning how to cook?
I did. I bought a ton of used cookbooks. I went online to resources like thriftbooks.com, just different places where you could, and just tried to find a bunch of highly rated vegan cookbooks, because I knew I can't spend an arm and a leg doing this. And so that was a really great way. And I don't know if a lot of people give up on vegan cooking, and that's why there were so many cookbooks available. But I was the proud recipient of maybe those failed efforts. But that's okay. So I got a lot of cookbooks. I did a ton of searching online. Texture is such a really big thing, particularly with tofu. So I researched all these different ways that you could prepare tofu, pressing it, freezing it, cubing it, baking it, frying it, and was just constantly on the quest for healthier and healthier options. And so one of the main resources that I went to was a website called Clean Food Dirty Girl. Ooh. And she's really, really fantastic. She swears a lot.
I love it.
Yeah, it was great. And she introduced me to batch cooking. And so I figured out how to plan ahead, because I think a lot of times where people get stuck is with, hey, I'm vegan now. How do I do this? And you have a job, you have a life, maybe you have kids, maybe you have a family, whoever, your dog that you need to take care of. And I think a lot of times we put ourselves last. Yeah. And so we put off making a meal for ourselves, and so we might end up with spaghetti on toast, or we might end up with, we might try to be extremely creative, and I think sometimes that can be less than satisfying. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's awesome in a pinch, but so I figured out batch cooking, and I was doing it for myself, which is tough. Batch cooking is usually intended to be for maybe a family, maybe at least 2 people. And so you end up with quite a bit of food. She had this amazing way that you could actually scale the recipes. So I could actually scale it down to be for me. And I was actually going through a divorce at the time. And it was something where I was experiencing a partner that didn't want to eat the same food as me, and so I was essentially cooking for myself. And which is, another thing that I think plays into a lot of family dynamics.
You're like, take the ring back. That would be me.
Yeah. It's a challenge. I have a lot of people who come into the shop and say, we're buying food for her, and I said, well, what are you going to eat tonight? So we have a lot of conversations about that in the shop. But yeah, so there are a ton of amazing resources out there. Yeah. Clean Food, Dirty Girl, actually, she introduced me to a whole food plant-based diet.
Okay.
And so that was where I really got introduced to the no oil cooking way that I prefer to cook for myself. And talk about going next level up from just the trainer suggesting that I go plant-based. When I went to no oil, that was a huge jump as well. Really, really big difference. Huge difference in digestion, just skin, everything really, really changed. Hair, just texture, everything just changed dramatically.
What can you use instead of oil?
Oh, there's so many different options for cooking with. I think we all default to perhaps how we were taught with you need a glug of oil in with vegetables when you're sautéing them, but you can actually just sauté with water. There's no problem at all with sautéing with water. Sometimes it maybe takes a little bit longer, and there's a definite process that you have to get used to doing. But aromatic spices, when you're sautéing, you can just add aromatic spices, and a lot of times you're offsetting oil with spice, because a lot of times we get a lot of traditional flavor from salt, fat. So salt, oils, and sugars. Mm-hmm. And so when you're taking that, those artificially, I mean, they're not artificial, but when you're removing those, exactly, enhancements, perfect word, you can substitute with more spice, different flavors, more like umami flavors, like increasing with using mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms make an amazing, wonderful flavor, but spices are probably the key, or fresh herbs and spices.
So you developed this like skill and passion for cooking, and you had the idea of starting a business. What is the first step that somebody takes when going on this path? I have no idea anything business related.
Yeah, it's you establish a plan, a concept, and you launch into what is it that you're going to create. And we were in the middle of the pandemic when this idea came to me, and I mean, I had been thinking about it, generally speaking, very broadly before that, but the actual idea of a grab and go. During the pandemic, I thought, what sort of business could I create that if I had to shut those doors at a moment's notice and be able to hand food out the window or out the door, what concept would work? Mm-hmm. And the idea of a grab and go came to me, and despite the packaging, it has been a really, really successful venture, and people are so happy for the convenience and the quick nature of it, and not needing to come in, spend time. It's there. They can be literally in and out of the store under a minute.
And it's healthy. Mm-hmm. And it's super healthy, because you have fast food places that can get you your food quickly, but then you eat it, you feel like shit, and you're probably hurting animals and the environment. When if we had more of these kind of places, I'll go to the airport and I'm like, there's a bag of chips and maybe some popcorn I can get, and if I'm really hungry, I could do an Impossible Burger at a fast food, which I don't do. I don't want it cooked on the same grill and whatnot, but to be able to like have that accessible, I need this place near my house.
We're working on it. We're definitely working on it. Yeah, that's one of the things. It has been really successful in the location that we're at, and I have people constantly asking me what's next, what is going to be happening, and so in the whole sort of planning. So you think of the initial concept, and then you need to come up with a brand. And so just as much as you've done for yourself, you're establishing, who do I want to be? What do I want to represent? And how do I want the public to view what it is that we're offering them? And so I actually worked with a brand team, and we came up with the name Electric Beets and tried to have, I think the name actually chose me on that one. It was I told my brand team, I don't think I'm cool enough for that name.
I like it for you.
It's really, really awesome. But afterwards, upon reflection, I think I was nervous about choosing it, but it became so multifaceted in its how it's arrived. So it's really fantastic. Our whole kitchen is electric. The idea of plant-based food being electricity for your body. I hated beets as a child, which is ironic, and the double entendre of music and electric beets, and the idea of I think food and music should always go together. So we came up with the brand, and then you just start organizing things. You start figuring out, what am I going to make? How am I going to organize this? And then I delved into the whole idea of packaging, which I know we briefly touched upon when you were at the shop.
Well, because when I first walked in, one of the most memorable things that I originally saw was like all the sustainable materials. You had jars, and I saw like wooden spoons.
Yeah.
So was this like a process for you, and where are things at now?
A huge learning curve, absolutely huge learning curve. Because if you think about it, anytime you would get takeout from a normal restaurant, you would probably get, if you got something hot, it would probably be in a PET container. That sometimes may be recyclable, sometimes it might not be recyclable. It depends on the actual container itself. And then sometimes they'll have compostable packaging, but a lot of times it's usually some sort of plastic something, so that it doesn't allow grease to transmit through the packaging. And there's so many different things. But the hard part about it is it's cheaper. It's cheaper than going to the compostable thing. So I had to figure out, how am I going to do this? If I'm going to be offering people a healthy, sustainable solution for their bodies, it needed to be absolutely, the whole package had to be that. And so I started looking at all the different types of packaging. We went and initially started doing these clear clamshells for our wraps, and people still thought they were plastic. And so I was getting tormented regularly on a daily basis. You really need to stop using plastic, Cecily. And I said, no, it's PLA, it's polylactic, da, da, da. And I said, it's compostable. And
how about you bring your own container?
We had that too. We had a lot of people asking if they could bring their containers. There were certain restrictions right after the pandemic that was still not a possibility. If people bring their containers in now for soup and different things like that, I absolutely will do that for them. But yeah, it's a really big challenge, because I think anybody equates plastic with something that is clear, and there are a lot of products on the market now that are compostable that look like plastic, but they're not. They're actually made out of corn. Some of them are made out of sugar cane. Lots of different options. Wow. The difficult part is that the packaging companies are charging about between 2 and 3 times the amount that you would normally get for a plastic container, just because it's less commonly used. They can put a premium on it because of what it is, and then also it may or may not be the durable container that you're used to. They're getting better, but there's still a little bit of a compromise there.
Why punish somebody for making the more ethical choice? I mean, instead it should be incentivized. Like when I bring my reusable coffee cup to the coffee shop, I have a few cents taken off, which it's like, thank you. Yeah. And speaking of which, that after visiting your place, I bought a nice coffee cup that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to use. Because one thing that I really enjoy is not every day, but sometimes I go to the coffee shop around the corner from my house.
Yeah.
And I love it and whatever. It's convenient. I make coffee. It tastes like shit. And so if I'm going to drink coffee, it's going to be somebody else who's making it.
Yeah.
So I go and I have all these cups that get thrown in the trash. And I was like, damn, that is a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
So I went through a breakup with plastic and paper cups, and I brought my reusable thing. And then when I was out, maybe like the other day, I had like only a few hours of sleep because I was partying the night before, and I was like, I really need coffee. I really, really do, but I don't have my reusable cup. What am I going to do? So I went through one of those experiences where it's like, you know, like when you get back with the ex for, you know, like a day or whatever. So went back, got the coffee cup, and then I was just looking at it and I was like, what was I thinking? I did not need you.
There's a guilt. It's crazy. There's a guilt associated with it. When you get into the habit, it's a good, and I think that's part of fun of those sorts of transformations is establishing new habits, establishing new paths, new neural paths, new ways of doing things. And then also you're bringing other people along for the ride when you do that, because you're influencing them to be better as well. And I think that one of my most fun moments in the shop is when I hear children asking if something is compostable or recyclable, or talking about reusing a cup, or here, fill up my water bottle with, you know, it's just, it's so encouraging to hear that sort of behavior happening so young, and definitely heartwarming.
More mindful for sure. So then how do you go about pricing it when you do have to pay those higher expenses? Because nothing in there was that expensive.
I have a system online where all my recipes are online, and there's a whole costing process that I go through. And so I take into account the cost of every single ingredient that goes into every single product that we make. And then there is a line in there additionally for the actual container for everything. And so it's factored into the cost. And one of my goals, Jamie, is with Electric Beets is to make it accessible for everyone. And so the pricing is extremely important to me. I do have a lot of people who still comment to me that they think that the shop is expensive. And I think when you do look around New York, I personally feel that we are very reasonable compared to a lot of places. So I am proud of what we're doing. We try to have a wide range of products,
right.
And so there's there are smaller bites, there are small sweets, there are larger sweets, there are larger dishes, more complex dishes, and so we're pricing those accordingly. And one of the things that we actually tackled with our wraps, and we actually found that they were staying longer, fresher, was just simply by putting them in paper. I had no idea in the beginning. I thought there's no way that they're going to stay as fresh in the paper in the refrigerated case as they do. And we had a much better experience. So switching from the PLA containers, which are compostable, to the paper was like one of the best moves. And I was honestly freaking out because I thought, oh my gosh, because they were cut before so people could see inside the wrap. And I kept on saying to myself, are people going to freak out if they can't see what's inside the food? And it turns out that they don't mind. And yeah.
When you go to a restaurant and you order, you see the description and you're like, oh.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was very pleasantly surprised. But I was worried because, my whole goal was to try to convince omnivorous eaters to come and eat plant-based, because to your earlier point about how do you start a business, we're talking about still 7% of the population right now currently that's vegan and vegetarian in the United States, was the last figure that I looked up. And I did not feel as though I could have a successful business plan based on 7% of the population.
There's 7? Oh, you're including vegetarians. Because
vegans and vegetarians.
Like 2.
Yeah.
Working on it.
Yeah, we're working on it. And so I wanted to target 100% of the population, because I wanted to, even if people come in and just eat a few meals a week or one meal a week, any amount is fantastic and encouraging more plant-based eating.
I remember when I was like 10, my friend's mom took me to this place called Candle Cafe. And they used to have a little restaurant on the Upper East Side, and she told me it was a vegan restaurant. I didn't know much about what that meant, and I went, and it became my all-time favorite restaurant. I was not vegan. And every birthday, every time, like, I would go to, and I would have the option to choose where we were going. I'd be like, I want to go to Candle Cafe. And that actually, I think when it came to me then learning about why a plant-based diet is so beneficial and what happens to the animals, it became more of an easy shift because I didn't have this notion that like vegans eat like seeds and grass and twigs, you know.
Do you remember what your favorite dish was there?
I remember getting the cheese quesadillas. Yeah. And it was obviously vegan cheese.
Yeah.
But I didn't really know or think much about it.
Yeah.
And they had these really good like dumplings and I just a bunch of different things. And I loved their juices and had this like healthy vibe to it. So by you doing that, I think it's really a way to kind of just get people thinking like, wait, tofu doesn't have to be boring. Like, these are the same people that think you can only have missionary sex. Like, you can make tofu in so many different ways, just like you can have sex in a lot of different ways, you know? Like, so I think that is really, really awesome. So what were maybe some of the challenges or pushback that you got from these so-called omnivores?
You know, it was interesting. When I was building out the space, I was actually down a few doors at the coffee shop, spending a lot of time because I would be coming back and checking on the contractors. And there was this one gentleman, it's kind of a fun story. He was at the coffee shop every single day, hanging out there, working apparently with a colleague of his at the coffee shop. So he saw me constantly. And so when I finally opened, he came down to the shop and he was not a vegan. And he said, hey, I want to come and support you. I saw you working so hard on doing this, and I want to come down and support you. What can I get? What would you recommend? And I said, I think you should try the lasagna. I think you'd really like the lasagna.
It is so good, by the way. Oh
I'm glad you like it.
I ate it so fast.
So he ate the lasagna. Not there. He took it, but he came back to report the next day, and he said, oh my God. He says, seriously, that was the best lasagna I've ever had in my life. And I said, oh, I'm so glad. He got another lasagna that day and left and then came back. It happened, I think, two or three more times after that. He was so ecstatic about the lasagna. And then he was hauling ass down the street one day, burst in the door, and he said, you didn't tell me your place was vegan? What? You lied to me. I said, what are you talking about? I said, we've never discussed that. I said, you asked me what was good, and I said the lasagna, and you said it was the best lasagna. He said, yes, and you've ruined it for me. He said, I had the best lasagna that I've ever had in my life, and he said, and you ruined it with being vegan. And I said, but I don't understand. I said, that makes me sad that you feel that way. And he's, my friend told me. And I said, okay, well, I said, so does that mean I'm not going to see you anymore? And he said, no. And he left. And I was really, really sad because, I mean, having somebody have that sort of breakthrough with food, not that he knew and not that I was trying to hide it from him. I mean, it was over. It says tofu on the label. It says everything is very clearly marked. It's not like I was hiding anything from him at all. But he actually came back about 4 months later, and he told me, he said, hey, I just wanted to let you know that my doctor told me that I had to change the way that I ate. And he said, you know, if I probably would have been a little bit more open-minded, he said, I probably could have made that change a little bit more easily. And he didn't get anything when he came back that time, but he came back at a later trip and he got the lasagna again. Wow. And I've seen him losing weight, and I know he's watching what he's eating. I don't know if he's eating plant-based, but it's really interesting to watch the different ways that people are either attracted to or try to push away from this way of eating because of perception. And
Exactly.
I don't know where that stems from, but it's sometimes it's really, really cool to see people make connections, and then other times it can be heartbreaking.
That is such an interesting story. And I've seen it on different levels and different scales where people will, they'll, as soon as they see or hear the word vegan, they're like, I don't want it. That's disgusting. I don't want it. And it's like, it's just missing cow tit juice, and like, it's just missing like a chicken ovulation and a corpse. Like, that's all that's missing. It's the same thing you've been eating. Like, you could offer somebody a peanut butter jelly sandwich, something they've eaten their entire lives, and then you tell them it's vegan, and they're like, that tastes so weird. I can't. And it's like, you've been eating the same sandwich forever. Stop it. So it's like we have such these deeply ingrained beliefs about like and traditions and our food, and we've normalized what happens to animals to such an extent that we feel threatened when an alternative that's like not hurting animals and better for the planet is offered.
Right. It's a really interesting thing because I have so many people come in who they start off with the question, but how will I get my protein? And so we have gone to great lengths to change our labeling system to actually bring comfort when that question. So they have that information right when they come in, because I have a really, really nice group of maybe 20-something to 40-something-year-old men that come in. Cool. And they are very focused on health, and they're like, but I need my protein. What can I get that has protein? And so we go through the list, and there's genuine surprise when I say, okay, get this wrap, you can do this. This one has 34 grams of protein. This one has 26 grams of protein. And they're like, wow, okay, that's awesome. That satisfies, for this meal. And I think there is genuine surprise, but there's so mthere different ways. Somebody said, well, I can't eat soy, or I can't eat this, or I can't eat that. And I said, let's build it together. Let's find another way, because there are so many different ways that you can crack that nut, and it doesn't have to be one way. It can be beans, it can be legumes, it can be nuts, it can be seeds, it can be all sorts of things. So massive. And vegetables have protein, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, but they do. And
that every single animal that they're eating ate plants.
Yes.
And that the strongest animals in the world are vegan.
Yes.
Silverback gorilla, elephants, and they're way bigger. Hippos.
Rhinoceros.
Rhinoceros.
Yep. Muscular. And yes, absolutely.
I think hippos just kill you because they're just sassy, but they won't eat you. That's
territorial.
It's just good to know. Yeah. Listen, if I saw like a human and the hippo, like I get why the hippo's mad at people.
Yeah.
The people are destroying everything that they touch. So, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's so interesting. So not only are you providing people with healthy plant-based food, but then also the education element is huge. Yeah. Why don't you talk about some of the programs that you've set up and the work that you do outside of the shop?
Yeah. So we actually have multiple schools that are nearby, and so one of the things we've worked on with the elementary students that get to come in, we set up tours with first graders and kindergartners to be able to come in and talk about eating the rainbow and talking about eating healthy snacks. And we actually give them a tour through the kitchen so that they can see what a commercial kitchen looks like. And that has been just a really, really fun experience, because we talk about what have they eaten for the day already, what are they planning to eat, and how many colors in the rainbow are they touching when they get to experience that. And we talk about the snacks that they're currently eating, and then we talk about their favorite meals that they have. And so it's a really wonderful opportunity for kids to ask questions, because a lot of times I don't think that kids understand or adults understand the difference between an omnivorous diet, a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet, a vegan diet, a vegetarian diet, all these different terms that we put on things. And it can all just be very, very simple. And And so explaining to that and having that conversation and just freely letting them ask questions is a really nice sort of passive form of education. We have a lot of signs up, or educational signage up in the shops. And there's this really great, it's a vegan nonprofit, and it's called Simple Happy Kitchen. And they have different posters, and they have all sorts of educational materials that you can download from their website for free. But they have all this information, nutritional information about and what contains iron, what contains calcium, what contains all the different nutrients, protein, to show you in a cute, fun way, so that people can really be engaged and understand. And so I really liked the idea of passive education in the shop, just so that people could be curious and ask questions on their own, and not necessarily introduce it in a forceful way, because that's never successful. But some of the other things we do is we have talks at the shop. We actually had a talk about perimenopause and all of the different topics that, your body is going through all these different changes. What are the different nutrients that you need at different stages in your life that you may need to amplify, perhaps cut back on? And so a lot of really amazing conversations about going through all the different stages of life that we go through, because there are many, both men and women, and everyone has lots of different challenges they face. And the really cool part is that you can just learn so much about food and how it can help you.
Totally. I think working with kids is really, really amazing and cool. And I'm sure, you have to follow certain guidelines. Like when I've been asked to speak with kids, they tell me like, all right, just, you don't have to bring up animals having their throat slit. I'm like, but that's what happens. And I'm like, if they ask, I'll say it in a way that they can then go look into it themselves. I just wish that like people were honest with me when I was younger. Yeah. And memories that stuck with me when you were talking about the kitchen tours, I was thinking about this kitchen tour that I went on as a kid. And we had the chance to become workers at this restaurant, and our parents were our diners. And I remember like fighting with this other kid. I was like, no, I want to be the server. I want to be the server. And we had to like bring out all this food, and but there was no educational element as to what was being served or whatnot. But I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Kids, they want to play the games where they're working behind the cashier. Absolutely. The grocery store.
That's actually a really great point, because that excitement that you felt, people do have that. But if you think about just in general our food system today, everybody has to eat every single day, I guess, unless you're fasting. But typically all of us are eating somewhere between 3, 5, 7 meals a day, depending on your habits. And it's very, very interesting the way that we view restaurant workers and all the different people that are involved in food service. And so that was actually one of the things that I actually wanted to change about my shop, was changing how people felt, giving people a living wage and really giving them feeling as though they have a reason and a purpose behind what they're doing, and that every time somebody leaves us a positive review, every time somebody comes into the shop to compliment something that someone has made, I try to bring people out from the back to make sure that they hear the comments firsthand. Aww. And I spend a lot of time crying in the shop, happy tears, because there are so many amazingly wonderful clients that come in, and there's just this outpouring of love. And I think that's actually probably one of the biggest benefits of eating plant-based, is because it makes you feel so good. And so that reaction, that visceral reaction that you have when you've eaten something like lasagna, and you don't feel heavy, you don't feel bloated, you don't feel weighed down, and you come, it's like, whoa, I just ate something that's actually pretty substantial, and to feel this way and to not feel like I want to take a nap or
punch somebody. You want to just show love.
Yeah, it is really, really cool. And I love that people will come in and say, they'll proudly say at the door, I'm not vegan, but I love your food. And it's like, I wish we could get away from the self-proclamations, but it's
my dad does this. My dad does this. He goes to everywhere we go because people know me as like, I'm very vegan, obviously. And so whenever he comes to my events, he's like, I'm 90% there. I'm 90% plant-based. I'm like, first of all, how are you calculating this? Are you having like 2 plant-based meals out of the day and then eating whatever you want at night? Like, or is this like a few times? Whatever. Besides that, do not announce this, Dad.
Yeah.
This is not the place where you want to announce your omnivorous habits. Okay. We are at war here.
Yeah.
So I tell them, but so they feel like I guess this guilt that they have to like announce it. I don't know.
It's a label thing. It's weird.
It shows you that whatever you're doing is working and you're drawing in the crowds. Because I think sometimes we get into our own little echo chamber.
Yep.
Especially like in my field with activism, I'm like, I got to make sure that I'm not just speaking to the vegans, but that I'm speaking to the people that really need to hear this message.
Yeah,
We don't need to keep re-traumatizing ourselves over and over again. And of course, you're going to feed the 7% of vegans, vegetarians, whatnot. But then to reach that other 93% of people.
Yep.
So would you say you're at where you want to be at, or do you want to like really get more people in the door? What are the next steps?
The goals are definitely to expand our brand awareness. Absolutely. We need to have more people know about us. That is an absolute. But the goal is, I started this business when I was 49. And I think, coming from a corporate background in strategy and design and architecture, this is something, when you do a business like this, when you're starting a business like this is absolutely a passion project. And it is something that I wanted to start a business that was going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. I wanted to, I think a lot of times, you're talking about your dad, talking to your families can be some of the hardest audiences that you have. And I personally have an older brother who's 3 years older than me, and not too long ago he had a renal stint. And my younger sister, who's 3 years younger than me, is currently being monitored for a heart condition.
Oh no.
And it's tough. It's tough talking to your family. And I think one of the things that I thought about the business was, I can just talk to a bunch of people that I don't know, and maybe somebody will listen, and maybe somebody will get something out of this and be a little bit healthier because of it. And so, I mean, I hope eventually my family will get on board, but it's okay if they don't.
It's the hardest thing, the people you care about, to watch them eat themselves to death.
Yeah.
Quite literally. I mean, I think the hardest part about being vegan is realizing that the people you love the most just don't care like you do.
Yeah, it's just, I think it's the messaging. I think it's coming from, it depends on who they hear it from, because if they hear it from someone else, I mean, it could be someone standing right next to you at a conference, and it might trigger something that in the way that they said it, it resonates. And I'm all for whoever is going to get them to listen. But that was one of my hopes, was to really make a difference. And so
that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Hearing it from somebody like you, if you were to talk to my dad, he would listen to you way more than he would listen to me. I took him to a talk one time. I've tried every route. I took him to a talk about health, where he was hearing it from doctors and athletes. And I took him to like a vegan rabbi.
Yeah.
Like, hear it from this guy. Okay. Maybe you'll listen. So hearing it from somebody else sometimes is the route to go.
Yeah. It's did you see Game Changers?
Yes.
Yeah, the erection section always works with the guys.
It does. It does.
It does. It's a good one. It's a really good one. So for all the guys out there, Game Changers.
Game Changers.
The erection test. It's a good one. It's a good one. If that doesn't do it, I don't know what will. But Yeah, no. So starting the business, wanting to make an impact, and people are coming in the doors now, and it's awesome. My original goal was world domination.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
And starting at 49, I thought, how can I do this successfully? So my goal right now is I'm actually going through an entire rebrand, working with my brand team again. We're simplifying the brand. We're cleaning it up. We're making it more easier to read and more. So I remember the story that I told you about when I first opened the shop. We had a big sign in the window that said, "Yes, we are vegan." And on the other side of the shop, we had no meat, no dairy, no fish. And as a fun experiment, I took that signage down just to see what would happen. So we've been in business now for 2 years, and I took the signage down probably about 9 months ago. And oddly enough, there was an uptick in business.
Wow.
And it was really, it's a little sad, but it's also amazing. And so I think the idea is to pique people's curiosity and get them to come in, and perhaps just like the guy who didn't know the lasagna was vegan, maybe if they eat it and they try it without the pretense of understanding that this might be different, this might be weird, this might be whatever, maybe they'll try it, maybe they'll like it and be like, okay, tell me more. And that just keeping people open. So that is the goal. And I've had so many people come in and say to me, please open these near me. Please open one of these in all these different cities. And so it really perpetuated the idea of turning this into a franchise. And so my immediate goal right now is I'm a women-owned business certified through New York State. But the next location that I am going to be working on is I'm going to try to get us a location at JFK or LaGuardia.
Amazing.
There's a lot of different things that need to be done in order to be able to do that. But I am seeking out there's a very specific women-owned business certification through the Port Authority. And so I'm currently in the process of going through that and figuring all of that out. But there are other people who serve food at the airports right now, and there are very few places, like you were talking about early on, that serve healthy food. And so I know it would be really, really successful, and I feel like this is a really strong next step. And if and when we're able to do that, to be able to help other people and guide them through the process of getting that into airports and other locations in general, I really feel strongly that this concept can thrive. Yeah. I absolutely think it can. And to be able to compete with other fast food like McDonald's and Chick-fil-A and all these other places that don't have healthy alternatives, but to be able to be situated right up against them and to be able to have people actually have a choice, to be able to make a better choice.
I love that so much. So that keeps you really busy. You're already running one place and then you're going to possibly have quite a few more. How do you balance being a business owner with your own self-care? And tell me a little bit about your self-care habits.
Yeah. I meditate. I got into transcendental meditation several years ago. I knew I was going to be starting a business again, and I thought, this is going to be a lot of work. This is going to be nonstop.
What was your business before?
I was in architecture and design strategy. Okay. And so it was a pretty intense field, and my partner is still, he's an architect, and my romantic partner, and he's amazing. But it's an intense field, and I just felt like I wanted to be doing something. That type of work definitely matters, but this was a different course. So I had this amazing background in understanding place and strategy and project management, and the ability to be able to translate all of those skills into the ownership of a business. I had no idea what I was doing on the food side of things other than cooking for myself and experimenting, but literally no idea. I have a sister that's a chef. I have a brother that was a former chef. And I watched things that they did, but literally no clue. I mean, it's comical looking back 2 years ago now at the beginning of the shop and thinking, what was I thinking? So it's been a wild ride, and it's been a lot of fun. Huge. It's like drinking from a fire hose constantly.
Do you set boundaries of like, are you in the shop all day, every day, or do you have days off?
I made the unfortunate decision, not unfortunate, because I believe it's a 7 day a week business. Mm-hmm. And what that meant for me at the time was being there constantly. And so I would have to say the first year and a half has been extremely imbalanced in my life. I attribute it to the fact that I eat plant-based, that I was able to do this, because I'm a high energy person to begin with, but this entrepreneurship, it requires a different level of, you have to ratchet it up a lot. And so I was probably spending a minimum of 16 hours every day, 7 days a week in the shop. But you learn quickly, and I wanted this so badly to be successful. And so when you're doing something that you're passionate about and that you love, it truly doesn't feel like work. It's exhausting, but it's also simultaneously energizing. So it's awesome. It's really, really cool. I am working to gain more balance back in my life again. I have gotten back into running again. I was consistently a runner before this. And so the first year I was running constantly in the shop, but the regular exercise routine definitely waned. The meditation absolutely helped tremendously, but the ability to just go inward and really take some time to reflect and remember who you are and take that time, even if it is 4 minutes, is so important. Absolutely. And fortunately I was surrounded by really good food, so that part wasn't hard. I would just be eating all day long. How do you? I do. I think my staff thinks I'm nuts, but it's, I do. I'm one of those people that is eating constantly. Picking. Yeah, picking.
Let me just make sure this is not poisonous here.
But I do need to probably knock that off. But
not at all. It seems to be working well for you. Thanks. So I'm curious. I always ask people like some of their favorite beauty brands that are vegan and cruelty free, or like skincare. Just because when I meet people like you you're really glowing from the inside out.
Thank you.
You can really tell that you are a whole foods plant-based vegan.
Thanks.
Just by looking at you. So what are some habits or things that could help people?
Okay, so I decided that I wanted to become more plastic free. And so I actually, this is probably not going to go over well. I use Dr. Bronner's soap for my hair.
Oh my God! Every vegan like that ever does that. How? How?
Well, I think it helps that I have short hair, but anyway, I occasionally use a little bit of coconut oil just to decrease, particularly in the wintertime, for a little bit of conditioning.
Like in the shower you put it in?
No, I put it in afterwards. So just a teeny tiny amount, just rub it in really good, and then it just kind of decreases the static and all that fun
stuff.
That
is so crazy. I was staying at my bald friend's house, and the only thing he has in his shower is that Dr. Bronner's, and I hate it. Yeah. I hate it on my skin. I hate it because I tried it. I was like, you know what? Let me give this a try. Not that he would know, but let me see how this goes in my hair. It felt like straw. Yeah, for days.
You do have to get used to it. It's one of those things where, did you go through the whole no poo phase in the pandemic?
No poo?
Oh, I had so many friends that stopped using shampoo. Oh, and it was called no poo, and it was eliminating shampoo from their lives, and literally you would wash your hair maybe like once a month or something like that, but you would just use water. I don't know. It was a whole thing. Wow. But anyway, I tried it and I couldn't do it. So I just stuck with the
Dr.
Bronner's.
I mean, I just kind of walked around with greasy hair because I was just in my house. But that is so, okay, so this is what works for you. No, yep. There's a new TikTok trend. It's like, what is it? We don't judge. We accept and we don't judge. Mm-hmm. Okay, so what's the next one?
Okay, so the next one is I smear coconut oil over my face every single night when I go to bed and my neck.
Oh, wow.
And I don't... So my golden retriever that I was madly in love with, his name was Cowboy. I took him to the vet one day, and the vet suggested, I can't remember exactly why we were there. We were there for something. I don't know if he was having digestive issues or what was going on, but she said, give him a little bit of coconut oil. And I said, coconut oil? And this was years ago. And I said, okay. I said, can you tell me a little bit more about the research behind this? Because I'm curious what that would do for him. And she said, oh, if you think it's good for him, you should try it for yourself. And so I started looking up all the benefits of coconut oil, and it's just a really incredible, if you put it on cuts, if you put it on scrapes, if you put it on pimples, if you put it on your moisturizing in your hair. I mean, it's basically like, I don't know if you're too young to see My Big Fat Greek Wedding, but there was a guy.
I know of it,
okay, the guy who sprays Windex on everything. Coconut oil is my Windex. So
I love that. You know, I am a big fan of coconut oil.
Okay.
So I was telling my facialist, I was like, yeah, like I put it on my face sometimes, and she's like, she's like, don't do that. Do not put coconut oil on your face. And I'm like, really? I was like, why? I don't know. It seems. It works. I definitely put it all over my body.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that actually uses it. She taught me to take my makeup off with coconut oil. Or do you have a specific face wash that you like? Or
there's a Bobbi Brown cleansing oil that I use. I can't remember what the name of it is exactly, but it has like jojoba oil and different, but definitely an oil cleanser. I have rosacea. My skin is very, very red, and so I tend to not use a lot of products on it just because it really flares up a lot. And so the oil seems to be amazing for cleansing. It's very, very gentle with removing the mascara, and so
you don't put foundation?
No, I use a tinted. I have to use sunscreen all the time, so I use a tinted moisturizer that has SPF 30.
Which one?
It is Origins.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a very, very light tint. But and then I've got to do the concealer and all that fun
concealer
stuff.
Girly for sure.
Yeah, but all good stuff. So I'm and then I started using the crystal.
What was your experience
deodorant
with the crystal?
It's really, really tiny right now and really hard to hold on to. But other than that, it's been great. The key
you don't smell, so that's good.
No, the key is to go far beyond the area that you would normally think. So you have to cover, you have to work at it a little bit. But
this is so funny because I have had some of the worst experience with the natural deodorants.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Like Tom's, give me a break. That shit does not work. And anybody that says it does, I'm staying far back from you because you stink.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I will say and I think a whole foods plant-based diet, I definitely don't have bad body odor. I don't really think so. But what helps, especially if you eat a lot of onions and garlic all the time, I think that can contribute to it. This is so weird. Glycolic acid toner from The Ordinary. I think it's $10. You just put a little bit of that under there. You do not smell at all.
Really?
Love that. Love native.
Okay.
And sometimes just baking soda.
Yeah.
It's a natural deodorizer. You can even put baking soda in your mouth, swish it around. Coconut oil, by the way, is you do it in the mouth.
It's an antiseptic.
That sounded really weird.
Yeah. I know what you meant, though.
Yeah. You put a spoonful for 5 minutes, swish it around in there in the morning. Do not spit that out in your sink, though, because it'll clog the...
Yep.
Spit it out in the trash.
Yeah. Antiseptic, though. It's a antiseptic. Is it an antibiotic? I don't think that's correct, but I think it's an antiseptic. I think it's an antiseptic. But so many great things. So no, I've definitely gone more natural in my wise years, apparently.
Totally. I think, the plant-based lifestyle, it opens you up to that, because next thing you know, you got a bamboo toothbrush.
Yeah.
You're using Dr. Bronner's on this wine.
It smells really good. It's very invigorating.
Do you have the lavender one?
No, God, no.
Oh.
The only scent that works is the peppermint. I've tried the entire rainbow.
That burns.
And no, all of them suck except that one. Really? They all, oh God, they're all, sorry, Dr. Bronner, they're all worthless except for the peppermint. That's the only one that actually makes you feel clean, in my opinion. The other ones,
It's, for me, when I use Dr. Bronner's, because I just told you I was up at Woodstock.
Yeah.
And they have Dr. Bronner's in the bathroom, and I was like, oh, just use this reluctantly, and I scrub it on my skin, and then I come out and it feels like rubber and like weird and
oh really
and sudsy, and like sometimes like when you're washing like everywhere it like burns.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you have like some sensitive. No, I don't know. I mean, the peppermint can be kind of sting a little bit, but it also, I don't know. Maybe I just got used to it.
It is a very clean soap, I will say. Very clean ingredients. It's cruelty-free, vegan, whatever. Do you.
Yep.
I love it. Well, this has been so much fun, and I'm really excited to see where you take things.
Thank you.
How can people find you and connect with Electric Beets?
Yeah, we have a website. It's electricbeets.com, and beets is BEETS, like the root vegetable. And we're currently on Instagram. I'm actually toying with taking us off of Instagram. I know that's probably not the cool thing to do, but I think one of the things that I've actually contemplated with, I know that for us, I've found that it's traumatic for me to constantly post things on Instagram or other social media sites. And so I've been trying to figure out a way to present things in an educational way. And so that's really going to be the focus now on social media, is purely education, because I want that to be what we're known for. Yeah. Positive, uplifting, and so that's really my goal. But you'll find all the information that you need on our website, electricbeets.com, and we're currently located at 158 7th Avenue in Park Slope, right next to, we're on the corner or near the corner of Garfield Place and 7th Avenue, and we have a really cute storefront that has minimal seating since we're a grab and go, but hopefully we will be coming to an airport near you soon.
That's so awesome.
Yeah,
I love it. I would be so sad if you left Instagram, but
no, it's not going to be like it seriously stresses me out. I know you're so good at it. Yeah, I know.
Because I'm like, how can we maximize our impact and reach the most amount of people possible? Because I do a lot of activism, but then if I don't record the activism, it only reaches the 5, 10, 15 people that I'm there with. Yeah. And then if I post it, I can reach 1 million or more.
Yeah. No, that's very, very true.
And like when I came and visited your shop, I posted about it, and people were writing me, and they're like, "Oh my God, that looks so good! That chocolate, sunflower butter."
I loved that video.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure your eyes rolled back in your head. It was great.
Wouldn't put it past me. It was that good. I have to come back.
That was great.
Soon. Yeah. It's like you crave it. And the lasagna too.
Yeah.
Like that night, I just inhaled it.
Oh, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Really
it makes
wonderful.
me feel really good. Thank you.
Definitely feeding people, making people healthier, and leading by example. Yeah. And I think that we guys should be supporting businesses that have these ethics and values and morals. And I really, a lot of our society, they put profit over ethics time and time again. Yeah. And so, put our money where our mouths are.
Yeah. We would. It's so important to support small business, and I think taking action to do things to support your health, to support the planet, and just your mental health will benefit tremendously because of it. So I know everybody's been having a hard time with that right now. So anyway,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jamie. I really appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. And thank you guys for listening. You know where to find me. I'm at It's Jamie's Corner. Check out Electric Beets, Beets, Beets.
Yeah.
There's not 3 E's, there's just 2. And you know the drill. Go vegan, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.